In this video, I'm about to show you 25 cereals you need to stay away from, and why, as well as 10 you should actually be eating. Starting with number 25, Kellogg's Honey Smacks. Behind its colorful box and smiling frog mascot lies one of the darkest safety records of any breakfast cereal sold in the United States. In 2018, Honey Smacks was linked to a nationwide salmonella outbreak that infected more than 130 people across 36 states, with over 30 hospitalizations. The contamination was traced to a third-party facility in Arkansas, prompting Kellogg's to issue an emergency recall and instruct consumers to discard every box, regardless of size or expiration date. That wasn't the brand's first crisis. In 2010, it was caught in a separate chemical contamination incident involving faulty packaging materials that released petroleum-like compounds, giving the cereal an off odor and causing nausea in several consumers. Even after those events, Honey Smacks remains one of the most sugar-laden cereals ever produced, with roughly 55% of its weight coming from added sugar. One serving can rival the sweetness of a glazed donut. For anyone monitoring blood sugar or cardiovascular health, this product is more candy than cereal. It offers little meaningful nutrition and relies on nostalgia, bright colors, and artificial flavoring to mask what it truly is: a high-risk, low-reward breakfast that has failed both the safety test and the common sense test more than once. Number 24. Post Golden Crisp. Post Golden Crisp is one of the most sugar-dense cereals ever produced. Independent food analyses have shown it to contain roughly 52% sugar by weight, meaning more than half of what's in the box is pure sweetener. In a single serving, the sugar load can surpass what health authorities recommend for an entire day. The glossy, puffed wheat texture comes from being pressure cooked, coated in glucose syrup, and reheated to lock in that glassy shine, a process that strips away most natural nutrients while intensifying the glycemic punch. The cereal's ingredient list reads like a chemistry lesson: refined wheat, glucose syrup, caramel color, artificial flavoring, and BHT, a synthetic preservative used to keep oils from spoiling. BHT has been restricted or scrutinized in several countries for its potential effects on liver and thyroid function, yet it remains common in older U.S. cereal formulas. Combined with its ultra-high sugar and minimal fiber, Golden Crisp behaves less like a breakfast grain and more like confectionery disguised as food. What began in the 1940s as Sugar Crisp was later rebranded to downplay that word, but the formula never truly changed. The modern box still delivers the same syrup-coated crunch, a nostalgic product whose sweetness hides just how nutritionally empty it has always been. Number 23. Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats. At first glance, Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats seem harmless. Whole grain fiber with a sweet coating that looks almost wholesome compared to the colorful cereals beside it. But in 2012, Kellogg's was forced to recall millions of boxes of both Mini Wheats Original and Mini Wheats Bite Size after the company discovered that metal fragments from a faulty manufacturing blade may have contaminated the cereal. The recall spanned products distributed throughout the United States, Canada, and Mexico, with Kellogg's acknowledging that metal mesh particles could be present in the food. It wasn't an isolated incident. The recall covered production runs lasting nearly a year, and it wasn't discovered by regulators. It was Kellogg's own quality control team that caught it after equipment maintenance reports flagged potential contamination. Even though no serious injuries were reported, the fact that metal shards could reach store shelves from one of the largest cereal manufacturers in the world highlighted a serious lapse in safety oversight. Nutritionally, Frosted Mini Wheats have another problem. While they advertise fiber and whole grain, they're still coated in sugar, with 12 grams of added sugar per serving, more than many granola bars. The combination of deceptive marketing, contamination history, and excess sweetness turns what appears to be a balanced cereal into something far less reassuring once you look past the frosted surface. Number 22. Cheerios. Few cereals have built as much trust as Cheerios, long marketed as a heart-healthy staple. Yet even this household name hasn't escaped controversy. In 2015, General Mills issued a Class 1 recall, the FDA's most serious category, after discovering that boxes labeled gluten-free actually contained undeclared wheat. The contamination occurred when oats intended for gluten-free Cheerios were accidentally processed on shared equipment with standard wheat-based grains. For consumers with celiac disease or gluten sensitivity, that error wasn't minor. It risked severe digestive reactions, inflammation, and long-term intestinal damage. The recall affected 1.8 million boxes of both original Cheerios and Honey Nut Cheerios, pulled from stores across the United States. It raised questions about General Mills' ability to maintain true segregation between gluten and non-gluten production lines, a cornerstone of responsible labeling. Beyond the recall, modern Cheerios have faced criticism for traces of glyphosate, the herbicide found in Roundup, detected in independent lab tests by environmental groups. While levels were within legal limits, the presence of such chemicals in a cereal marketed for children and families undermines its wholesome image. Cheerios might look simple, just toasted oats in a yellow box, but its record shows that even trusted brands can fall short when marketing promises outrun manufacturing control and ingredient transparency. Number 21. Captain Crunch Original. Behind the bright navy uniform and cartoon nostalgia, Cap'n Crunch Original is one of the most misleading cereals in the American breakfast aisle. While marketed as sweetened corn and oat cereal, its true profile is closer to confectionery than grain. Independent nutrition analyses show that nearly 44% of each serving is sugar by weight, putting it among the sweetest cereals ever mass-produced. Each cup delivers around 17 grams of sugar before milk, more than many snack cakes. That level of refinement creates a blood sugar surge followed by a crash, a cycle designed to keep taste buds hooked but leave the body drained. The cereal also relies heavily on artificial colors like yellow 5 and yellow 6, both tied to hyperactivity and behavioral effects in sensitive individuals, according to decades of public health research. These dyes are banned or restricted in parts of Europe, yet remain standard in American formulations. While the brand has avoided major safety recalls, it's drawn criticism for decades for its highly processed composition, corn flour, sugar syrup, palm oil, and additives like BHT for shelf stability. Behind the cheerful branding and crunch lies a formula designed for maximum sweetness and minimum nutrition. The real captain isn't steering a ship, it's steering an empire built on sugar addiction. Number 20. Captain Crunch Berries. If the original Cap'n Crunch is already a sugar bomb, its spin-offs, Crunch Berries and Oops All Berries, push that formula to its extreme. Each brightly colored piece is coated in a thick layer of sweetener and dyed with a mix of red 40, blue 1, and yellow 5, creating that familiar artificial rainbow that glows under supermarket lighting. Laboratory tests have shown these variants to contain around 46 to 48% sugar by weight, making them some of the sweetest breakfast cereals ever produced. The issue isn't just the sugar, it's the chemistry behind the color. Red 40 and Yellow 5, both synthetic azo dyes, have been repeatedly flagged in toxicology reviews for their potential to cause hyperactivity and allergic responses in certain individuals. Europe requires warning labels on products containing them, yet in the United States they're still used freely, even in foods marketed toward children. Quaker has never recalled these products, but their ingredients are the nutritional equivalent of candy-coated starch. There's little fiber, negligible protein, and almost no vitamins unless they're artificially added back in after processing. Behind the bright packaging and nostalgia-driven marketing lies a product engineered for taste and shelf life, not nourishment. The oops in the name feels more accurate than ever. Number 19. Honey Nut Cheerios. Honey Nut Cheerios is often perceived as a healthier alternative to sugary cereals, a simple oat blend with a hint of honey. But behind that wholesome reputation lies a troubling production history. In 2015, General Mills was forced to recall over 1.8 million boxes of Honey Nut Cheerios and the original Cheerios line after the company discovered that several gluten-free batches were accidentally made with wheat flour. The incident triggered a Class 1 recall, the FDA's most serious category, due to the risk of severe allergic reactions in individuals with celiac disease or gluten intolerance. The contamination occurred when the factory's gluten-free production lines were cross-contacted with conventional wheat, undermining a core claim of the product's branding. It was a costly and embarrassing mistake for a company that had just spent months promoting Cheerios as newly gluten-free. Beyond the recall, the cereal has faced its share of criticism for its high added sugar content, about 12 grams per serving, making it far less healthy than the marketing implies. Independent lab tests have also detected trace amounts of glyphosate, a chemical herbicide used on oat crops, further complicating its natural image. Honey Nut Cheerios still dominate cereal aisles, but its record shows that even the most trusted names in breakfast can stumble when quality control and truth in labeling don't align. Number 18. Kellogg's S'mores. Kellogg's S'mores was introduced in 2003 as a cereal version of the campfire treat, graham, chocolate, and marshmallow packed into one bowl. But nutritionally, it's closer to a dessert than breakfast. Each serving contains about 18 grams of sugar, and nearly 43% of its total weight comes from added sweeteners. That makes it one of the most sugar-saturated cereals Kellogg's has ever released. Despite being discontinued in 2013 after declining sales, it returned in 2015 and again in 2021 due to consumer demand, proving that nostalgia often outweighs nutritional sense. What makes s'mores particularly concerning is how it's built. The cereal combines refined wheat, corn syrup, cocoa powder, palm oil, gelatin, and artificial flavors, all held together with preservatives like BHT to prevent spoilage. Each piece delivers a sharp glucose spike, followed by the inevitable crash that keeps consumers reaching for more. Critics have described it as a candy aisle product dressed as breakfast. There's no major recall history attached to s'mores, but its composition raises another kind of red flag: the deliberate engineering of flavor addiction. Even Kellogg's own marketing team admitted it was designed to bring the s'mores taste indoors. What it actually brought was the dessert-to-breakfast pipeline that helped define America's growing sugar crisis, one bowl at a time. Number 17. Kellogg's Froot Loops. Few cereals are as recognizable as Kellogg's Froot Loops, the rainbow rings that have been on American shelves for decades. Yet beneath the bright colors and fruity aroma lies one of the most criticized ingredient lists in the entire breakfast industry. In 2010, Froot Loops was part of Kellogg's 8 million box recall after consumers reported a strong chemical odor coming from the packaging. The issue was traced to methylnaphthalene compounds used in the cereal's liner, which caused nausea, headaches, and an off taste. The recall also affected Corn Pops, Apple Jacks, and Honey Smacks, forcing Kellogg's to issue a nationwide warning. Even without that contamination event, Froot Loops stands out for its formulation. Each serving contains roughly 48% sugar by weight, along with a heavy dose of red 40, blue 1, yellow 5, and yellow 6, synthetic dyes that several international regulators classify as potential behavioral triggers in sensitive individuals. Its marshmallow variant pushes the sugar content even higher, blurring the line between cereal and candy. Nutritionally, it offers little beyond fortified additives reintroduced after processing. What keeps it alive is branding, a colorful mascot and nostalgic marketing that masks how little has changed since its creation. Behind the bright loops and playful bird lies one of the most engineered, least natural cereals still being sold today. Number 16. Quaker Simply Granola. Quaker Simply Granola markets itself as a wholesome, simple mix of oats, honey, and almonds, but its track record tells a different story. In late 2023, parent company PepsiCo and the Quaker Oats division announced a massive recall covering multiple varieties of Quaker cereals and snack products, including Simply Granola, after internal testing found potential salmonella contamination. The recall expanded again in January 2024, eventually encompassing dozens of lot codes sold nationwide at major retailers such as Walmart, Target, and Costco. The danger of salmonella is not theoretical. It can cause serious, sometimes fatal infections in young children, the elderly, and those with weakened immune systems. Consumers were urged to discard any affected boxes immediately, and the recall stretched well into the following year as more contaminated batches surfaced. Even without the recall, Simply Granola isn't as simple as its name suggests. A standard serving delivers 16 grams of sugar, nearly the same as some candy bars, while the clusters are bound together with corn syrup and canola oil to keep them crisp for months. The illusion of health comes from its rustic packaging and the word oats, but the formula is far from clean. The recent contamination scare only reinforced that marketing claims mean little when the core product can't even guarantee safety. Number 15. Reese's Puffs. Reese's Puffs takes the famous candy brand and turns it into a breakfast cereal, but nutritionally, it's closer to eating a handful of chocolate-coated candy than anything resembling oats or grains. Each 1-cup serving contains about 18 grams of sugar, and nearly 40% of its total weight comes from added sweeteners. The mix of corn flour, sugar, cocoa, and peanut flavoring delivers the taste of dessert while offering little genuine nutrition. Despite being marketed as made with real Reese's peanut butter, Most of its flavor comes from artificial flavoring compounds and defatted peanut flour, not actual roasted peanuts. It's also preserved with BHT to extend shelf life, a controversial additive banned in some countries but still used in U.S. cereals. The bright orange and brown color comes from a cocktail of synthetic dyes, including yellow 5, yellow 6, and red 40, the same additives scrutinized for potential behavioral and allergic effects. The brand has never been recalled, yet its formula raises other questions about what counts as breakfast food in modern America. While General Mills promotes it as sweet and crunchy fun, nutrition experts routinely classify it among the least healthy mass-market cereals available. It's proof that the line between candy aisle and breakfast aisle has almost completely disappeared. Number 14. General Mills Trix. Trix has been a breakfast staple for decades, famous for its colorful shapes and the slogan, "Silly Rabbit, Tricks are for kids." But its real story is less about fun and more about chemistry. Every bowl contains a cocktail of synthetic dyes: red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, and blue 1, pigments that make up its neon palette. These dyes have been the subject of ongoing scrutiny for decades, with studies linking them to hyperactivity and behavioral effects in sensitive individuals. In parts of Europe, foods containing them require warning labels, but in the US, they're still allowed without restriction. In 2016, General Mills briefly tried removing the artificial dyes and flavors, replacing them with natural alternatives. Sales dropped sharply, and within 2 years, the company quietly reverted to the original chemical formula, citing customer demand for the classic colors. Each serving delivers roughly 12 grams of sugar, and nearly 41% of its weight comes from added sweeteners, levels comparable to candy. Nutritionally, Trix offers little more than fortified additives reintroduced after processing. What's left is a brightly packaged nostalgia product built on refined corn, synthetic coloring, and sugar. The formula hasn't meaningfully changed since the 1950s, only the marketing has, keeping one of the least natural cereals on shelves under the guise of childhood fun. Number 13. Lucky Charms. Lucky Charms has built its legacy on nostalgia, pastel marshmallows, cartoon mascots, and a promise of magically delicious mornings. But beneath the charm lies one of the most criticized formulations in modern breakfast food. Each serving contains roughly 13 grams of sugar, with nearly 40% of its total weight made up of sweeteners. The cereal combines refined corn, sugar, corn syrup, and gelatin-based marshmallows, all colored with synthetic dyes such as red 40, yellow 5, and blue 1. These same dyes have been under ongoing scrutiny for behavioral effects and potential allergenicity in sensitive individuals. In 2022, Lucky Charms drew national attention after the FDA launched an investigation following hundreds of consumer complaints about nausea, vomiting, and gastrointestinal distress, allegedly linked to the cereal. Though no recall was issued, the case highlighted serious concerns over manufacturing transparency and ingredient consistency within General Mills' supply chain. Even without confirmed contamination, the ingredient list tells its own story: ultra-processed grains, chemical colors, and sugar-heavy marshmallows fortified with synthetic vitamins to appear nutritious. The modern box may look like harmless nostalgia, but the formula mirrors the same processed blueprint that has fueled decades of criticism. Lucky Charms remains a symbol of how presentation and sentiment can disguise a product that's anything but lucky for long-term health. Number 12. Great Value Honest Roasted Nut O's. The Great Value Honey Roasted Nut O's, Walmart's store brand take on Honey Nut Cheerios, might look harmless at first glance. Same golden loops, same sweet glaze, but behind that familiar appearance is a history of both safety lapses and formulation concerns. In 2014, select lots of this cereal were voluntarily recalled after reports surfaced of metal fragments possibly entering the product during manufacturing. The contamination was linked to defective processing equipment, and although no injuries were confirmed, the event underscored how even budget-friendly private label brands aren't immune to major quality control failures. Like its national brand counterpart, Honey Roasted Nut O's leans heavily on refined grains, added sugars, and flavor enhancers to replicate the taste of honey and roasted nuts. Each cup contains around 12 grams of sugar, and the sweetness comes not from real honey, but from a blend of corn syrup, maltodextrin, and artificial flavoring compounds. The cereal also includes BHT, a preservative that has been scrutinized internationally for potential toxicity concerns. As Walmart's in-house alternative to name brand cereals, great value products often pass under the radar, cheaper, accessible, but not necessarily cleaner. The 2014 recall served as a reminder that cost-cutting in mass production can come at the expense of both quality and safety, even for something as ordinary as breakfast cereal. Number 11. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Cinnamon Toast Crunch remains one of the best-selling cereals in the United States, but its popularity hides a formulation that's closer to dessert than breakfast. Each 1-cup serving contains about 12 grams of sugar, and nearly 41% of the cereal's weight is pure sweetener. The cinnamon swirl flavor is created using a mix of refined sugar, dextrose, and artificial flavor compounds, not actual cinnamon in meaningful amounts. It's also fortified with BHT, a synthetic preservative added to extend shelf life, a chemical that's been banned in several countries but still used widely in U.S. packaged foods. In 2021, the cereal was caught in an unusual controversy when a consumer claimed to have found shrimp tails in a box purchased from Costco, prompting a brief online investigation and product inspection. Although General Mills denied the contamination, the story drew renewed attention to how fragile large-scale food oversight can be, even for iconic brands. Nutritionally, Cinnamon Toast Crunch delivers a quick energy spike followed by a steep crash, a pattern driven by its heavy use of simple carbohydrates. The brand's nostalgic flavor and advertising keep it alive, but the reality is that it's an ultra-processed sugar blend with minimal whole grain value, a cereal that tastes like childhood but behaves like candy. Number 10. Trader Joe's Almond Cluster Cereal. Even brands known for cleaner ingredients aren't immune to contamination risks. In 2016, Trader Joe's Almond Cluster Cereal was included in a nationwide Listeria recall that affected multiple health-oriented brands. The problem stemmed from a contaminated batch of sunflower seeds supplied by a third-party processor, which were used in cereals, granolas, and snack mixes across the country. Trader Joe's pulled its Almond Cluster cereal from shelves immediately, warning that the product could carry Listeria monocytogenes, a bacterium capable of causing severe and sometimes fatal infections in vulnerable individuals. While no deaths were linked directly to this cereal, the recall reinforced how even natural food companies can fall victim to supplier chain breakdowns. Listeria can survive freezing temperatures and refrigeration, making it especially difficult to eliminate once it enters a production facility. Beyond the contamination issue, the cereal itself was far from guilt-free. Each serving contained around 11 grams of sugar, along with oils and syrups used to bind the clusters and maintain crunch. Despite its earthy packaging and image of simplicity, the formula relied on the same industrial techniques as mainstream brands, just with fewer artificial dyes. The 2016 incident reminded consumers that organic or boutique branding doesn't guarantee safety, and that oversight failures can strike anywhere, even inside the aisles of Trader Joe's. Number 9. Barbara's Puffins. Marketed as a wholesome, natural alternative to mainstream cereals, Barbara's Puffins built its reputation on trust, simple ingredients, minimal processing, and the promise of purity. But in 2013, that image cracked when the company issued a voluntary recall of its Puffins Honey Rice cereal due to potential salmonella contamination. The issue originated from one of the brand's ingredient suppliers, and while no illnesses were confirmed, the recall reached retailers across the United States and Canada. It served as a sharp reminder that organic or non-GMO labeling doesn't shield the product from the same contamination risks faced by industrial food giants. Even outside of the recall, Puffins isn't as clean as the marketing suggests. Despite its health-focused branding, the cereal still contains around 9 grams of sugar per serving, along with processed corn flour and added natural flavors that do little nutritionally. The crunchy, lightly sweet texture comes from a blend of refined starches baked at high temperatures, stripping away much of the grain's natural nutrition. Barbara's has maintained a loyal following among health-conscious shoppers, but its history shows how even small, well-intentioned brands can falter under supply chain complexity. The recall tarnished its once pristine image and revealed a truth too often overlooked. In mass production, simplicity on the label doesn't guarantee purity in the box. Number 8. Kellogg's Crave Chocolate. When Kellogg's Crave Chocolate launched in 2012, it was marketed as a modern twist on cereal, crisp shells with a creamy chocolate center, positioned somewhere between breakfast and dessert. But in reality, Crave represents the complete collapse of the nutritional line between the two. Each serving delivers around 16 to 17 grams of sugar, and nearly 45% of its total weight comes from added sweeteners. That's higher than many pastries and snack cakes. The chocolate filling isn't real chocolate in the traditional sense. It's a mixture of sugar, palm oil, cocoa powder, and artificial flavor compounds blended into a paste. The shell itself is made from refined wheat, corn syrup, and dextrose, designed for maximum crunch and minimal nutrition. Despite its marketing as made with whole grain, less than half of each piece actually qualifies. While Crave hasn't faced any major recalls, its formulation has drawn consistent criticism from dietitians and food policy groups for masquerading as a breakfast food. The use of palm oil adds environmental controversy to its nutritional flaws, and BHT keeps it shelf-stable long past what any fresh food could endure. What Kellogg's branded as a fun, indulgent cereal is, in essence, candy disguised as nourishment, a glossy symbol of how far breakfast marketing has drifted from reality. Number 7. Post Great Grains Protein Blend. Post Great Grains Protein Blend was introduced as a power breakfast, whole grains, nuts, and a protein boost meant to suggest something cleaner and more substantial than typical sugary cereals. But in 2016, the brand faced an embarrassing setback when select lots of the cereal were voluntarily recalled after metal fragments were discovered during production. The contamination stemmed from a mechanical failure in one of the supplier's facilities, prompting Post to issue an immediate nationwide alert. While no injuries were confirmed, the potential for metal ingestion made the recall a serious safety matter. Even beyond that incident, Great Grains Protein Blend is a case study in misleading health marketing. Each serving contains 13 grams of sugar, and the ingredient list is far from natural refined corn syrup, canola oil, soy protein isolates, and artificial flavorings dominate the mix. The so-called protein boost comes from soy and wheat protein concentrates, not whole food sources like nuts or seeds. The cereal's image of balance and wholesomeness masks the same industrial processing seen in cheaper brands. For all its nut and grain branding, what consumers actually get is a high-calorie, high-sugar cluster formula fortified after the fact with synthetic vitamins. The 2016 contamination only reinforced that beneath the health cereal label, Great Grains Protein Blend wasn't so great after all. Number 6. General Mills Boo Berry. Every autumn, General Mills Boo Berry returns to grocery shelves as part of the company's seasonal monster cereals lineup, a nostalgic mix of bright colors, cartoon mascots, and sugar-coated corn puffs. But beneath the playful packaging lies one of the most heavily engineered cereals on the market. Each serving contains roughly 13 grams of sugar, and nearly 45% of its weight comes from refined sweeteners. The blue hue that defines it isn't natural at all. It comes from Blue 1 and Red 40 synthetic dyes that have faced scrutiny for possible behavioral and allergenic effects in sensitive individuals. Nutritionally, Boo Berry offers little more than empty carbohydrates fortified afterward with synthetic vitamins. The berry flavor itself is created through artificial flavor esters and maltodextrin-based coatings, not real fruit. In past production cycles, General Mills has had to adjust dye concentrations after consumer watchdog groups pointed out labeling inconsistencies between US and EU versions. Europe's formulas contain fewer artificial colors and require warning statements. The cereal is manufactured only once a year, yet it manages to draw health criticism every season it returns. Behind the nostalgia and limited edition hype sits a formula that would never pass modern clean label standards, a sugary relic of the 1970s that refuses to retire, still feeding more on memory than nutrition. Number 5. Kashi Heart to Heart. Kashi Heart to Heart was designed to sound trustworthy. The name alone implies clean eating, heart health, and simplicity. But in 2012, that image took a major hit when Kashi issued a nationwide recall of its heart-to-heart oat flakes and blueberry clusters after tests revealed possible salmonella contamination in the cereal's organic ingredients. The contaminated material came from one of Kashi's certified organic suppliers, forcing the brand to pull multiple lots off shelves across the United States. While no illnesses were reported, the incident revealed just how vulnerable natural brands can be when they rely on large-scale ingredient networks that are anything but small or local. The irony runs deeper when you read the label. Despite being promoted as heart-healthy, this cereal packs 10 to 12 grams of sugar per serving, plus canola oil and syrup coatings to keep the clusters crunchy. The blueberry flavor doesn't come from fresh fruit. It's a mixture of flavoring compounds and concentrate, designed to mimic the taste of real berries. The recall might have faded from headlines, but it left a lasting impression. Kashi's attempt to merge health branding with mass production backfired, proving that clean design and wholesome messaging don't always translate to purity inside the box. Number 4. Special K Red Berries. Special K Red Berries built its reputation on one idea, that it's a smart choice for people watching their weight. For years, Kellogg's promoted it as a light breakfast that supports a healthy lifestyle, using minimalist packaging and the promise of real fruit. But the numbers tell a different story. Each serving delivers about 14 grams of sugar, roughly equal to several cookies, and most of that sweetness doesn't come from berries at all. The bright red pieces are freeze-dried strawberries coated in syrup and natural flavoring, added mainly for visual appeal rather than nutrition. The flakes themselves are made from refined rice and wheat flour, not whole grain, stripped of nearly all natural fiber before being fortified with synthetic vitamins to look nutritious on paper. A touch of corn syrup and malt flavoring adds gloss and aroma, while artificial sweeteners and preservatives keep the cereal shelf stable for months. Kellogg's has faced repeated criticism for marketing this product as a health food, despite its high glycemic load and sugar-to-fiber imbalance. Independent diet analyses have ranked Special K Red Berries among the most misleading diet cereals on store shelves. Behind the sleek packaging and fitness-themed commercials lies the same refined carb, high-sugar formula driving America's breakfast sugar problem. A cereal designed more for marketing appeal than metabolic health. Number 3. Golden Grahams. Golden Grahams first appeared in the 1970s as a honey-flavored, whole-grain cereal, and for decades it has been marketed as a family-friendly classic. But behind the nostalgic commercials and the Golden Crunch lies a formulation loaded with refined sugars and additives. A standard 1-cup serving contains about 12 to 13 grams of sugar, and nearly 40% of its total weight comes from added sweeteners like corn syrup and molasses. That honey flavor highlighted on the box? Mostly artificial, the recipe relies on a blend of flavor compounds and coloring agents, not actual honey. Its ingredient list reads less like breakfast and more like processed food engineering. Enriched wheat flour, brown sugar syrup, canola oil, and BHT, a synthetic preservative linked to potential liver and endocrine effects at high exposure levels. Despite the brand's emphasis on whole grain, the cereal's high glycemic load and low fiber content make it nutritionally comparable to many dessert snacks. Golden Grahams hasn't been tied to any major recalls, but its nutritional record stands as its own warning. What began as a simple Graham-inspired cereal has become another ultra-processed product built for flavor and shelf stability rather than real nourishment. Its appeal lies entirely in nostalgia, and nostalgia doesn't make it healthy. Number 2. Count Chocula. Count Chocula may be a seasonal favorite, returning to shelves every fall as part of General Mills' Monster Cereals lineup, but its friendly cartoon vampire hides one of the least nutritious formulas still legally sold as breakfast food. Each serving contains around 13 grams of sugar, making it roughly 44% sugar by weight, while offering almost no natural fiber or protein. The ingredient list reads like a candy recipe: refined corn flour, sugar, cocoa powder, corn syrup, and gelatin-based marshmallows. The cereal's signature dark color comes from a combination of caramel coloring and red 40, a synthetic dye long scrutinized for possible links to hyperactivity and allergic reactions in sensitive individuals. Alongside those dyes, BHT is added as a preservative to prevent rancidity, a chemical banned in multiple countries but still used in American cereal manufacturing. Despite being marketed as made with whole grain, the reality is that less than half of its composition qualifies as such. Any nutritional value is artificially reintroduced through synthetic vitamins sprayed onto the flakes after production. Like its counterparts, Boo Berry and Frankenberry, Count Chocula thrives on nostalgia and limited-time hype. But once the charm fades, what remains is a cereal built on sugar, flavor chemicals, and shelf-life engineering, a breakfast treat that belongs more in the candy aisle than in your pantry. Number 1. Kellogg's Apple Jacks. Kellogg's Apple Jacks has been a childhood favorite for generations. But in 2010, this cereal was at the center of one of the largest food recalls in U.S. breakfast history. More than 28 million boxes of Apple Jacks, Fruit Loops, Corn Pops, and Honey Smacks were pulled from shelves nationwide after consumers reported an intense chemical odor and taste coming from the packaging. The cause was traced to methyl-naphthalene compounds leaching from the cereal box liners, chemicals derived from petroleum that caused nausea, vomiting, and respiratory irritation in multiple cases. The incident forced Kellogg's to issue a massive recall, warning consumers not to eat any cereal with the affected production codes. While no deaths occurred, the sheer scale of the contamination shook public trust. The company admitted the chemical odor originated from their own internal packaging supplier, proving that even something as harmless as a cereal box could become a source of contamination when oversight fails. Even setting the recall aside, Apple Jacks remains far from a healthy breakfast. Nearly 40% of its weight is sugar, while the apple and cinnamon flavor comes from artificial flavoring compounds, not real fruit or spice. What began as a nostalgic treat turned into a case study in how artificial ingredients, synthetic dyes, and poor manufacturing controls can collide right inside the cereal aisle. But hold your horses, because turns out not all cereals are out to get you, as here are the 10 cereals you absolutely should be eating, starting with number 10, Ezekiel 4:9. In a market filled with processed, sugar-coated cereals, Ezekiel 4:9 stands out as one of the cleanest and most nutritionally complete breakfast options available in the United States. Inspired by the biblical verse of the same name, the recipe uses the same 6 grains and legumes mentioned in Scripture: wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, and spelt, all sprouted before cooking to maximize nutrient absorption and digestibility. Each serving contains 0 to 1 gram of sugar, 6 grams of fiber, and roughly 8 grams of plant-based protein, with no preservatives, refined flour, or artificial additives. Because the grains are sprouted, they offer a superior amino acid profile compared to traditional cereals and promote better glycemic control, helping to prevent sugar spikes common with processed grain products. Unlike most boxed cereals, Ezekiel 4:9 isn't extruded or heavily processed. It's slow-baked to preserve enzymes and nutrients. The result is a hearty, mildly nutty cereal that fuels the body rather than spiking blood sugar. It's also organic, non-GMO, and glyphosate-free, meaning it's free from the synthetic pesticides and residues often found in mainstream brands. With decades of production and no major recall history, Ezekiel 4:9 has become the gold standard for what a truly clean, functional breakfast cereal should be: simple, complete, and genuinely nourishing. Number 9. Uncle Sam's Original Wheat Berry Flakes. Few cereals have remained virtually unchanged for over a century, but Uncle Sam Original Wheat Berry Flakes is one of them. First introduced in 1908, this cereal was built on a simple formula that still holds up: whole wheat kernels, barley malt, and flaxseed. That's it. With only 3 primary ingredients, it avoids the sugars, dyes, and preservatives that dominate most modern cereals. Each serving delivers 10 grams of fiber, 7 grams of protein, and less than 1 gram of sugar, making it one of the most nutrient-dense boxed cereals still on the market. The inclusion of whole flaxseed adds natural omega-3 fatty acids and lignans, plant compounds linked to improved heart and digestive health. Its high fiber content supports cholesterol reduction and long-lasting satiety, something most mainstream cereals fail to deliver. There are no artificial flavors, no high fructose corn syrup, and no refined grains, and it's non-GMO verified. Uncle Sam has also maintained a clean safety record for decades, with no major recalls or contamination events listed in FDA archives. Its production process is straightforward and transparent, reflecting its century-old origins when food was closer to the farm than the lab. In an era of marketing gimmicks and added sugars, Uncle Sam stands as proof that the simplest ingredients can still create one of the healthiest breakfasts money can buy. Number 8. Barbara's Original Puffins. While many cereals hide behind claims of being natural or wholesome, Barbara's Original Puffins actually earns the label. Made from a short, transparent ingredient list: corn flour, oat flour, coconut oil, and sea salt, it avoids the syrups, artificial colors, and preservatives that dominate most breakfast aisles. Each serving contains about 5 grams of sugar and 5 grams of fiber, offering a balanced sweetness without the blood sugar surge common in heavily processed cereals. The puff shape is created using air pressure rather than frying or heavy oil coating, making it light but satisfying. The use of whole grains ensures slow digestion and steady energy release. And the cereal is non-GMO verified with no BHT, high fructose corn syrup, or synthetic additives. Importantly, while Barbara's Honey Rice Puffins faced a salmonella-related recall in 2013, the original Puffins line has maintained a spotless safety record for over 20 years. It's produced under strict allergen and contamination protocols that exceed FDA standards for small-batch cereal manufacturing. With its simple formula, moderate sweetness, and clean label, Barbara's Original Puffins stands as one of the few ready-to-eat cereals that truly bridges convenience and health. It's proof that cereal doesn't need bright colors or artificial flavoring to taste good, just real grains, thoughtful preparation, and ingredient honesty. Number 7. 1 Degree Organic Sprouted Oat O's. If transparency and purity could be measured, 1 Degree Organic Sprouted Oat O's would rank among the highest of any cereal sold in the United States. Every ingredient is traceable to the farm. Each bag includes a QR code that lets consumers see exactly where its oats, coconut sugar, and sea salt were sourced. The formula is intentionally simple: organic sprouted oats, coconut sugar, and Himalayan salt. That's it. The sprouting process gives this cereal an edge in both digestion and nutrition. By partially germinating the oats before cooking, natural enzymes break down starches and release minerals that are typically locked away in raw grains. Each serving delivers 4 grams of fiber, 5 grams of sugar, and 4 grams of protein, with no glyphosate, GMOs, or preservatives. It's also certified vegan, organic, and glyphosate residue-free, something very few mainstream cereals can claim. 1 Degree's entire line, from its Oat O's to its granolas, has maintained a 100% clean recall record, with no FDA or CDC safety actions since the brand's launch. Its commitment to ingredient transparency and regenerative farming sets it apart from corporate competitors that rely on anonymous supply chains. For consumers who actually want to know what's in their breakfast, 1 Degree doesn't just promise honesty, it builds it into every box. Number 6. Purely Elizabeth's Ancient Grain Granola. Among the sea of sugary granolas disguised as health foods, Purely Elizabeth's Ancient Grain Granola stands out as one of the few that actually delivers on its promises. Its ingredient list is short and readable: organic oats, amaranth, quinoa, coconut oil, coconut sugar, and chia seeds, all certified organic and free from artificial additives or preservatives. Each serving contains 5 grams of sugar, 3 grams of fiber, and about 5 grams of protein, creating a balanced, nutrient-dense profile without the syrupy sweetness of commercial granolas. What makes this granola different is its grain diversity. The inclusion of amaranth and quinoa boosts its amino acid content, providing a more complete plant-based protein source. The sweetener, coconut sugar, ranks lower on the glycemic index than refined white or brown sugar, meaning it causes a slower, steadier release of energy rather than a sharp spike and crash. Purely Elizabeth's production process also earns points for integrity. The granola is baked in small batches and certified gluten-free, non-GMO, and glyphosate residue-free. Since its founding in 2009, the company has maintained a spotless recall record, with no contamination or safety issues reported through FDA or USDA channels. In a category often filled with hidden sugars and cheap oils, Purely Elizabeth proves that granola doesn't have to be code for dessert. It can actually be good for you. Number 5. Whole Foods 365 Morning O's. 365 Organic Morning O's, the in-house cereal from Whole Foods Market, is one of the cleanest mainstream oat-based cereals you can find on U.S. shelves. Its formula is refreshingly simple: organic whole oat flour, organic cane sugar, and sea salt, with no artificial dyes, flavorings, or preservatives. Each serving contains only 4 grams of sugar and 3 grams of fiber, providing a balanced start to the day without the sugar overload found in most national brands. Because the oats are organic, they're grown without glyphosate, a chemical herbicide still detected in many popular cereals, including Cheerios and Quaker products. The brand certification also ensures the cereal is non-GMO and free from synthetic preservatives like BHT or TBHQ, which are banned in multiple countries but remain common in American manufacturing. Morning O's has also maintained a perfect safety record, with no recalls or contamination incidents listed in FDA or Whole Foods recall archives. The cereal is packaged in recyclable materials and manufactured under Whole Foods' strict quality standards program, which bans over 200 additives and processing agents allowed in conventional foods. While it may not be flashy or heavily marketed, 365 Organic Morning O's represents what breakfast should be: simple, clean, and genuinely wholesome. It's proof that good cereal doesn't need a mascot or a slogan, just transparency and real ingredients. Number 4. Weetabix's Alpen. If there's one cereal that proves simplicity can still deliver substance, It's Alpen No Added Sugar Muesli by Weetabix. Originating in Switzerland and produced under the Weetabix umbrella, this cereal takes the traditional European approach, a cold, unprocessed blend of rolled oats, whole wheat, raisins, almonds, and hazelnuts with no added sugar, artificial flavoring, or preservatives. The sweetness comes naturally from the dried fruit, not syrups or refined sweeteners. Each serving provides around 6 grams of sugar naturally occurring, 7 grams of fiber, and 8 grams of protein, making it one of the most balanced, ready-to-eat cereals in terms of macronutrients. Unlike extruded or puffed cereals, Alpen is minimally processed, which preserves its nutrient density and keeps its glycemic load far lower than the average boxed breakfast food. It's also a standout in terms of safety and consistency. No major recalls have been linked to Alpen or Weetabix cereals in either the US FDA or UK Food Standards Agency databases. The product is made in facilities certified for allergen control and quality assurance under global food safety standards. Alpen's longevity comes from its honesty. No gimmicks, no sugar glaze, no chemical preservatives, just a straightforward, nutrient-rich mix that's closer to real food than most cereals on the shelf. Number 3. Nature's Path Heritage Flakes. For anyone looking for a cereal that's both genuinely nutritious and responsibly produced, Nature's Path Heritage Flakes checks every box. Made from a blend of 6 ancient grains, wheat, barley, oats, spelt, quinoa, and millet, it's a cereal built on nutrient density rather than marketing. Each serving contains around 7 grams of fiber, 6 grams of protein, and just 5 grams of sugar, all from whole ingredients with no syrups, artificial flavors, or preservatives. Unlike most mass-market cereals, Heritage Flakes are USDA certified organic, non-GMO project verified, and glyphosate residue-free, meaning the grains are grown without synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, or herbicides commonly detected in conventional brands. The company also uses low-temperature baking, which helps preserve the grain's natural oils, fiber, and micronutrients. Nature's Path has maintained a perfect safety record, with no recalls or contamination events listed under FDA or CFIA records since its founding in 1985. The brand's manufacturing facilities are certified for allergen control and sustainability, using renewable energy and recyclable packaging. Taste-wise, Heritage Flakes deliver a toasted, mildly nutty flavor that feels more like food than product, a stark contrast to the candy-like sweetness of most cereal aisles. It's proof that healthy doesn't have to mean bland. When done right, it simply means real. Number 2. 7 Sundays Original Muesli. If there's one modern brand that's managed to bring back real European-style muesli to the American breakfast table, it's 7 Sundays. Its original muesli skips the industrial cereal process entirely. There's no extrusion, no coating, and no chemical preservatives. Instead, it blends whole rolled oats, almonds, sunflower seeds, flaxseed, coconut, raisins, dates, and a touch of honey, all sourced from small regenerative farms. Each serving delivers roughly 5 grams of natural sugar, 5 grams of fiber, and 6 grams of protein, providing slow-release energy and genuine satiety. The grains are left raw or lightly toasted, preserving their nutrients and giving the cereal a chewy, rustic texture that feels closer to real food than factory product. 7 Sundays is also one of the few U.S. cereal makers to achieve glyphosate residue-free certification, confirming that its oats and grains are grown without chemical herbicides like Roundup. Since launching in 2011, the company has maintained a perfect safety record, with no recalls or contamination alerts in FDA records. The result is a breakfast that's naturally sweet, nutrient-dense and honest about what it is: grains, nuts, fruit, and nothing else. In an industry dominated by sugar and additives, 7 Sundays proves that simplicity still tastes better. Number 1. 3 Wishes Grain-Free Cereal. As more people move away from refined grains and added sugars, 3 Wishes Grain-Free Cereal has quietly become one of the cleanest modern options on the market. Made from chickpeas, tapioca, and pea protein, it delivers the crunch of traditional cereal without the processed grains, dyes, or syrups found in nearly every mainstream brand. Each serving contains about 8 grams of protein, 3 grams of fiber, and only 0 to 3 grams of sugar, depending on the flavor. Instead of cane sugar or corn syrup, the cereal uses monk fruit for mild sweetness, keeping blood sugar levels stable and the glycemic index remarkably low. It's also grain-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, and peanut-free, making it safe for people with food allergies or sensitivities. Every batch is third-party tested for contaminants, and the brand has maintained a perfect safety record since its debut in 2019. 3 Wishes is proof that cereal can evolve. With simple legume-based ingredients and no preservatives or artificial flavors, it offers balanced nutrition and satisfying crunch without the baggage of traditional cereals. In a category dominated by nostalgia and sugar, this brand shows that the future of breakfast might actually be cleaner, simpler, and smarter.